You ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostmourne, hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 48th episode of the Nexus Trolls, a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, part of the Trolls.gg podcasting network. So I'm your host, Daz and Mystic, and I'm joined today as always by LiQuiud and Mystic. How's it going, LiQuiud? LiQuiud? Looks like LiQuiud has fallen asleep. Well, anyways, Mystic, how's it going with you, bud?
It's going pretty good. I'm not asleep.
Yeah, I guess we might have to do this show just the two of us, since LiQuiud has decided to fall asleep at the wheel here, but that's all right. He's just the third wheel anyways, right? So, getting into the show, we got a lot to talk about. In all seriousness, LiQuiud actually just couldn't make it today because of a work conflict, so he'll be returning next week along with his esports corner. Troll and HGC was actually earlier this week. They did it on a Monday, so you can hit that up on iTunes or the VODs if you're interested in hearing more about his take on the esports of the weekend. But other than that, on the show today, we're going to be talking about Ana. We're going to be doing a deep dive on her. Both myself and Mystic have had a lot of play time with Ana. There's also a new patch that's dropped with some significant changes to Joanna, which I couldn't get too much of a handle on, but hopefully Mystic's had some playtime with her. We're going to be talking about Volsky Industries next week. We think there's a lot to talk about this week, so we need an extra week just to kind of get some set strategies down as people try and figure out the map. So we'll have some more in-depth insight into Volsky next week. We'll go into Mystic's Shakedown, and we're going to be talking about some balance patch notes as well. So, Mystic, are you excited for the show without LiQuiud today?
Well, it does mean I get more talk time.
without both me and LiQuiud trying to hog the mic, I guess you get your fair share of it today. So, but before we start the show, we always like to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/trollsgg, and we have a new patron this week, Jen, aka Suri. Thanks so much for your patronage. Thanks for supporting the show. We often see her in Discord and after show games, so it's great to have you on board as a patron, Jen. Thanks for supporting the show. If you're looking to support the show as well, you can always do so over at patreon.com/trollsgg. The show is always going to be free, but if you're looking for a way to do so, you can do it over there. And LiQuiud, of course, picked the troll of the week this week, but he's asleep at the wheel, so we're going to have to intro him for you. It's Nabby Jim from Dignitas. Apparently, he watches this show quite frequently, as well as Troll and HGC, where we share the troll of the week for the week 4. So thanks, Nabby Jim, for being a fan of the show. So that being said, let's get into some news, shall we?
Someday, this will make a great story.
So, Mystic, have you had a chance to try this Pacamari event out yet?
Oh yeah, every game.
Yeah, it's quite annoying sometimes, but hey, it gets you some free stuff, right? It's basically what it is. If you haven't had a chance to log into the game yet to try it out, you race against the other team to open a whole bunch of loot boxes and find the golden Pacamari within the loot boxes. This Pacamari, apparently, we found out last show when we were doing some quick snap Googling mid-show, is some sort of mascot for Overwatch, which I guess makes sense with Volskaya coming out in the Overwatch theme associated with it. So if you find the golden Pacamari before the other team does, you get credit towards your golden Pacamari reward quest in game, and basically you have to get multiple golden Pacamaris to get Pacamari themed emojis, banners, sprays, and portraits. I'm not going to go over all the details here. You can check it out in game, but there's some neat little free loot that you get if you get through this really annoying quest. And one neat thing that I actually learned, just a friend of mine mentioned it when I was playing with them yesterday, is that you can shift click through the loot boxes to make it go a lot faster. So shift right click, for those of you that don't know, you'll actually queue up commands. So you can queue up a whole bunch of commands. It'll actually just, like as you're running into one, you can queue up for the next one. You don't have any delay in between getting one going to the next. So neat little tip there if you really want to get all those Pacamari and optimize your Pacamari play. So Blizzard actually dropped a new Android and iOS app for us. Really cool, long overdue. Have you had a chance to download this for your phone yet, Mystic?
I have not.
I downloaded it earlier today. I think it just dropped today. It's actually a chat app for Battle.net, for Blizzard Battle.net, whatever you want to call it these days, where you can chat with people on your phone. I mean, like, they should have had this ages ago. Like the fact that you can only do this in client was fairly annoying. And this is actually really great to be launched just before BlizzCon too, because now at BlizzCon you can also add friends on the fly. You don't have to be like take down their battle tag number, if you happen to meet somebody, and just wait until you get back home, toss in a BattleNet. Now you can actually do it on the fly. You can scan someone's QR code that they can present with you on the phone. And you can also find other people at the event too, which is gonna be great because a lot of people that I know that are going, the only place I have to chat to them is either Discord or the BattleNet app or the BattleNet chat client. So it's great having that available now. So it's available on iOS and Android. I tried out today. I tried sending one message and it didn't work. So maybe there's some bugs they're still ironing out, but hey, I'm assuming it'll be patched up. It looks pretty slick, so give it a try. How about the next news item there, Mystic? Did you see this? Blizzard is potentially developing a mobile RTS MMO, real-time strategy, massive multiplayer online game. What do you think about this?
Well, something that always grabs my attention is the words RTS, because ever since, way back when they were really popular, I was a really big fan, and now they've kind of faded into like, they're still there, but they're kind of like in the corner where nobody really pays attention to them. So, I like RTSs, and whenever something like this comes up, I feel like I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm interested. I was pretty excited about when I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, are we getting some sort of like new spin on the Warcraft franchise? And then I was looking at it and I was like, oh, it's actually a mobile game. So I mean, it's still kind of exciting. I know mobile games obviously have risen in popular. I play quite a few of them, and it'd be great to see what Blizzard's spin on things are. So hopefully this will be pretty cool, but it is just based on a job posting, so this is probably a ways out. I'd actually even be surprised if they announced anything at BlizzCon for this, but hey, you never know. Maybe the initial development phase has started for this already, and maybe they'll have an announcement for it at BlizzCon. So Reddit, a very popular post on Reddit this week, is asking for a try mode for vehicles. Dragonite, Garden Terror, and the Triglav Protector, however you pronounce it. And this is something that resonated with me quite a bit, because anytime I hop in that Protector now, I'm just so unfamiliar with its mechanics that I feel like I'm not as effective as I could be, and I feel like it could be definitely beneficial to have some sort of try mode for these vehicles. What do you think about this, Mystic? Do you just hop in and you just know what you're doing right away, or you kind of like me need some try mode love first?
Well, I don't hop into try mode usually, but I think the try mode would be very beneficial for stuff like this, because there are a lot of people out there who like to test things, especially in try mode. So, when they give us the kind of like the cheat sandbox mode thing, that was really good for the community. It actually, I think, advanced the game quite a bit. And then so just adding vehicles to it is just, I feel like something that should have been there in the first place, like Spawn, Dragonite, or something like that.
Oh, for sure. And actually, I do want to make a point of saying that it is actually available in the new sandbox mode for Volsky Industries. There's a new button there, so you can just click on Spawn Protector, and you can spawn a Protector near the hero. So you can use that a little bit of as a try mode if you want to get like your legs wet on using the Protector. But it would be nice to have just a straight up try mode for it. I can't believe you don't use try mode at all, Mystic. That's where I go when I take Kel'Thuzad out for the first time and I want to practice combos. You sit and try mode them for 10 minutes, just trying things out, working on my combos, working on those delays, getting everything timed up. You just jump right into game, do you?
Well, my philosophy on that is like, I go into try mode and I go, okay, so this is how it works. All right, so that's all well and good, but you're throwing it on a training dummy, right? So when you go into actual like quick match, unranked, something like that, because you definitely don't want to take a hero that you have never played into ranked, because or not played that often anyway. So, you go in there, you try it out in the actual environment.
Well, maybe the learning curve is a little bit slower on the uptake for me, because I definitely have to take a little bit of time getting used to here before even taking him in a quick match. Like I remember taking KT into quick match in the PTR, and I didn't get too much like KT as in Kel'Thuzad in the PTR in a try mode, or not to try mode in quick match, and I couldn't do anything with him at first. I needed to sit back and be like, yeah, it's time for try mode, time to take some time and just work on the mechanics, because just in the game everything's so hectic. You don't want to have to like look at builds. You want to try and figure out what build you want to get prior to getting into the game, at least have some sort of semblance of reason to your build before going in. But hey, I guess we can't all be Mystic, right? So next on the docket, this is actually a little bit of news related to the Trolls GG network. So we've got a new website, and it was a little bit rushed getting this to market because we're coming on the first anniversary of this podcast. So our website was up for renewal, and I was sitting there being like, I gotta get this out before they ding us for another year on our existing host, because we wanted to transition over from Squarespace to just another different host. And in order to do that, I had to get everything done by yesterday. So it's all up there. It's pretty basic. If you head over to trolls.gg, there's not a ton there, but we do have a lot more flexibility. We're gonna be adding a lot of things down the road there. So keep posted on trolls.gg and see how that goes. We actually had someone tweet out to us last night because we switched the hosting service for our podcast as well, and I apologize to anyone listening, to anyone who had this issue as well. But I guess some clients, like, it didn't happen to me. I use Google Play to listen to podcasts, but maybe this is an iTunes issue, I don't know. After we did the switch, it said that there was 48 new The Nexus Trolls episodes available for download, and if you had it set to automatic download, we just like spam downloaded people's inboxes. I actually checked our statistics too. We had a lot of downloads of like backlogged shows yesterday, so I apologize to anyone that we spammed you with, and thanks to those of you that pointed it out as well on Twitter. But yeah, great new website. Check it out and keep an eye on it for things to come. So we're going to be skipping LiQuiuD's esports corner because he's still asleep at the wheel and we cannot wake up the bear. So just keep posted next week. I'm sure LiQuiuD will be going over that. Also, just a little note too, Troll and HGC is going to be next Monday. I believe same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I could be wrong. You can stay posted to that on their Twitter, just at Troll and HGC, Trollin without a G on the end, Trollin HGC. To get announcements about the show update time. But after that, it will be returning back to its normal time Wednesdays after this show. So, Mystic, we've got Ana. What do you think about Ana before we start getting into it? Just basic. What do you think about Ana?
I think that she's a fairly balanced hero. Maybe other people disagree with me, but she works very well in double healer compositions. Well, in fact, I feel like she excels in that. And as a solo healer, she's a little bit on the weak side.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, she's got really low introductory win rate in Hot Slugs right now, 43%. I'm not too surprised by that. And if I had to categorize Ana into anything, I actually say that for higher skill cap players, like players with higher skill levels, that she's going to be fairly broken, similar to like a Medivh. This is just my inkling. We haven't obviously seen her in competitive play. And then we're going to go over her builds and everything too, but I think she's got a lot of utility in her kit if you build her right to make her very powerful, like Mystic said, in a dual healer situation or dual support situation, because she does have some limitations to her healing output. But we'll go to that in a bit. First, we're going to go over her kit, just so everyone's kind of on the same playing field here. Ana, for those of you who don't know, she's a sniper from Overwatch. She was actually added to the Overwatch game, not on release, but I think she was maybe the first expanded hero, I believe. And she's a sniper that also can like snipe heal and snipe like sleep and do kind of like different darts to enemies or allies to produce different effects. So it's pretty natural she comes into the game as a support hero. So starting off with her trait is Shrike. This is where all of her basic attacks apply a dose to non-structured enemies, and that's important to note. This doesn't do dose damage to structures like Linara, dealing an additional 44 damage over 5 seconds and stacking up to 5 times. So some things to note about this: her auto attacks on level 1 are 31, and her dose damage over 5 seconds is 44. So only about 40% of her damage output comes from her auto attacks. And because this doesn't affect structures, she's got horrible siege potential against structures. She does have a fast attack speed though, so it's easy to spread her doses, 1.33 attacks per second. And she's got Rainer range, guys, too. So 6.5 range, not like the usual 5.5 you see for most heroes, making it a little bit easier to spread those doses, especially on tanks. Really easy to spread, especially when you talent into it properly. So before we move on to the rest, what do you think about this trait? I think I mentioned it last show too. I think it's kind of an odd trait for a healer to have, poison doses. I know they kind of weave it in to augment her healing if you talent into it, but do you think this is kind of a strange move on Blizzard's part, going for poison doses. I guess maybe they're trying to bring it in from Overwatch, but it just doesn't seem to fit a healer's kit very well.
I mean, the more and more that I looked at it, the more and more that I felt like it kind of fit, because her trait could have just been like, hey, increase like range and then, make her attacks like sniper attacks or something, right? But Nova has already filled that thematically. Nova's like the sniper, right? And then so they have Anna who comes in and she's also a sniper, but they wanted to make her feel different. So, this trait for just like a little bit of poison plus it's they had to give her a little bit of damage. So I find it to be pretty good.
I mean, it's an interesting mechanic, just something strange to give to a healer is more what I'm getting at. But again, she does play well, and it is a nice source of damage output as well for Ana. So getting into her basic ability, she's got 3 as per usual. Healing Dart on her Q. This is her main healing ability. It's 15 mana, so not a lot of mana. And it's on a 2-second cooldown, so very spammable. You fire a dart very much like a Nova dart, maybe even the same range as Nova's Q. Except it's almost instantaneous. So it's a lot easier to hit, and it hits the first allied hero hit for 250 health. Just to put that in perspective, that's a Rhaegar heal, not old Rhaegar heal, but new Rhaegar heal. So it's a fairly sizable heal, but it's not what you could probably consider a burst heal. Biotic Grenade on her W gives her a lot of utility. I think it's where most of her utility comes from, and a lot of interesting decisions when you use it too. This is on her W. It's 50 mana, 16-second cooldown, so you got to use it sparingly. You toss a grenade at a targeted area, probably more like a Tychus grenade, I'd say, than a Morales grenade, because you don't have to detonate it. You just throw it at an area. Allied heroes hit are healed for 175 health, so just a little bit more than half of her Q, so not too much, especially given the cooldown. But they receive 25% increased healing for 4 seconds, which gives her some interesting potential abilities as a secondary healer. Enemies hit take 60 damage, not 600, 60 damage, and receive 100% less healing for 2 seconds. And I think that unique characteristic absolutely shuts down healing 100% for 2 seconds, makes her very interesting. What are your thoughts on Biotic Grenade?
I would go far as to say that it's one of the most powerful abilities in the game that's not a heroic.
I'd agree. And that's probably one of the reasons that I'd say that Ana is broken in hands of a very skilled player. Because just to put this in perspective, think of how many healing abilities there are, and especially like quick burst healing abilities are in the game. I was having a lot of fun versus some Rainers the other day as they were getting, I can't remember what his trait's called, where he heals up, 30%, 40% of his health after he gets past a certain threshold. You throw the bomb just before that hits. You can even use the bomb to proc it if you do it well. You'll basically get none of that healing back. You do an ancestral heal. That's pretty much gotten the most exposure. It's easy to target this bomb on a Rhaegar target because of the delay. You put this on a Butcher, put it on a Ragnaros, put it on an adapting Dehaka. There are a lot of opportunities here, and even like Lily with Cups, or I put it on a Tyrande who Tyrandas these days, I think they can solo anybody because they get down low and they're auto attacking, healing. You toss on them just as they're putting those last couple of heals out, and guess what? Those heals aren't coming, and she'll waste her cooldown on you, on herself, and get absolutely no heals out of it. So it can be very powerful if used appropriately. Now, do you think it's going to be mostly used for the healing reduction, or do you think that the increased healing is going to be used too? Because I mean, it's tough. You got to make that decision with any of these kinds of abilities that have this or that kind of effects.
In my opinion, I think 35% of the time it's going to be used for healing increase, and about the other 65% of the time it's going to be used for healing reduction, because it's just so powerful, right? Because if you throw it on your allies, they get the little bit of healing increase. Well, it's pretty good healing increase, which is it's okay. It's pretty good. But then minus 100% healing on all enemies hit. It's not even a single enemy hit. It's all enemies hit by this grenade. So it's insane. Yeah.
So is it? I mean, I almost think it just depends on the comp you're up against too. If you see that Rhaegar, you hold on to this until Ancestral's coming out, because it's just such a powerful counter. Whereas maybe if there isn't a lot of burst heal on the other team, like a Morales, this doesn't work that well against Morales. Doesn't work that well against even like I guess maybe a Lucio with Amp It Up, but with his shield ultimate too, the shield ultimate doesn't get affected by this because it doesn't affect shields, it only affects healing. Things like that, you know, it might be more beneficial to use it for the healing output, especially if you're in a dual healer situation, as opposed to the healing negation on the other team. So on E, she's got Sleep Dart. This is very similar to Healing Dart, except goes a lot slower, a lot harder to hit. 50 mana on a 14-second cooldown. It fires a dart that puts the first enemy hit to sleep, the enemy hero hit to sleep, rendering them unable to act for 3 seconds. Sleep affects end instantly if the target takes damage after the first half second. So you've got a guaranteed half-second stun, but after that, if you coordinate properly with the rest of your team, or if they're not taking any damage, you can use this with quite a bit of utility too. What kind of situations would you be using Sleep Dart, Mystic?
If Anna's being dived, it's a very powerful peel tool for herself because, you know, let's just say that Illidan's coming at you, right? You just throw a Sleep Dart at him, and as long as you don't hit him with it after that 0.5 seconds, then, you know, you could just walk away. You have 3 whole seconds to walk away. So other than that, it's also, if you hit it on anybody else, you know, let's just say you don't need to use it for the peel, then it guarantees a CC from your team is going to land, or a huge spell that's a skill shot is going to land. It's a very powerful skill.
I was playing with a Nazebo today. Nazebo, he loves sleep targets because all of a sudden that zombie wall gets a lot easier to hit. So just things like that, a lot easier for the setup. Again, you have to make sure you're a little bit coordinated, very much like a Kerosene Palm. You got to make sure you don't attack the target if you're trying to do some sort of setup, because it does negate the effects. But yeah, great as a chasing tool as well. If someone's trying to chase, you can put them to sleep, run past them as a team or as an individual, and you can start the body blocks. You can just kind of get on the other side of them and avoid them getting away as well. A great utility too, and like I said, her whole kit just screams great utility. Her heroics now, she's got 2 interesting ones, and I'm still torn on which one I like the best. There's Eye of Horus. It's her first one. 75 mana, 60-second cooldown. You assume a sniping position, rendering you immobile, gaining the ability to fire up to 8 specialized rounds with unlimited range. Unlimited range. This is global, guys. Rounds hit the first allied or enemy hero or enemy structure in their path. Very important to note. So this can be body blocked by your allies. If you're trying to hit the enemy, it will hit your allies first, or structures. Very similar to Nova's triple tap in that regard. Allies are healed for 300, and enemies are damaged for 175. Deals 50% less damage to structures, so you can't be sniping keeps on cooldown here. Yeah, and like I said before, you can't move while it's active. Some of the neat things about this ability too is that when you fire it, if you're on the opposing team, it kind of makes, like Tyranda's owl has a little bit of a streak behind it of a visibility, so it can give you a little bit of vision, but it also gives the other team a little bit of an indicator as to which direction it came from. And I've noticed that teams have already caught on to this and are pretty good about blocking it, very similar to Nova's triple tap. One thing I did notice, though, I don't think this was in the PTR, because I noticed this today, I couldn't cancel it by right-clicking. I'm not sure. I went into try mode after my game. I was like, why can't I cancel this? And I noticed that the cancel buttons are W and E for this ability. Hit Q or R, you will shoot off your sniper round. If you right click, it doesn't do anything. But if you hit W or E, it will cancel it. So if you're going into game and you're using Eye of Horus, just mental note, if you want to cancel after shooting 4 times, and often you do because you can't move, you want to hit W or E. None of the other buttons seem to work. Very, very odd. I think this might be a bug, because right click I feel like should cancel that, but for whatever reason it doesn't. The other ability, before we start talking about the 2 in detail, is Nano Boost. 40 mana, 50-second cooldown. Instantly boost an allied hero, restoring 200 mana. For the next 8 seconds, they gain 30% spell power, and their basic ability cooldowns recharge 150% faster. Holy crap. This works best probably on ability-based heroes, obviously. And I'd say ones with lower cooldowns. Mystic, do you agree with that? Lower cooldowns, or do you think there's still a place to be seen for this with higher cooldown heroes like a Jaina, say?
After seeing it used a little bit, I'd say lower cooldowns are a lot better than higher cooldowns, because higher cooldowns, they still work. I just feel like they're not as effective, though.
Yeah, Machine Gun Medivh, you're saying Slime Murky is another one too. It's amazing, 150%. That's more than double on the cooldown reduction. So you're pumping abilities like crazy. I was tending towards Eye of Horus, to be honest with you. You playing more Nano Boost or Eye of Horus?
See, I thought Nano Boost would be really good, and I still say, it's a really good ability, but since Anna just came out, I feel like you should give the community some time to, like learn, hey, I have Nano Boost on me, or this is the way I should use Nano Boost. So for like the first week or maybe 2 weeks, it's not as good because even if you Nano Boost a target, they don't know like what it does or they don't know how they should use it, right? So I think Eye of Horus is the better one at this moment in time.
A lot of people say it's very similar to like Stimdrome Morales, right? But what I was finding is that it's not as loud of an ability. For some reason, like, Stimdrone, like everyone knows that Greymane's got Stimdrone on him, but Nano Boost seems a little bit quieter. And it's just me, or do you find that too?
Yeah, it doesn't have that like loud piercing sound that Stimdrone has.
Yeah.
It's Nano Boost is just like Anna says a line and then it's on.
Yeah, so I guess there's that too. I wonder if they might change the UI or the audio cues a little bit just to make it so that it's a little bit more noticeable. Yeah, I like the Eye of Horus a lot as well, just as a finishing ability too. It can be annoying to get past the body blocks, but if there is that Leeming in the back that's just sneaking away with a sliver of health, it doesn't do a ton of damage. It's not like a triple tap. But that being said, you can pick off people in the back if you have your angling right too. And you got to be very careful with your positioning. And the great thing too is it's global. So you could be the other side of the map and keeping an eye on some sort of chase, or you can even save a target too, because this gives healing output to allies. So if someone's getting ganked and they need a quick heal and you can't get to them, you can actually get them now, right? You got 8 shots of a fairly sizable heal to make sure you can top up that person and make sure they stay alive, or kill the person that's chasing them potentially even as well. So there's a lot of utility there with Eye of Horus, and I've been tending to more towards Eye of Horus, and but who knows how that's going to shake down. I do think Nano Boost has a lot of utility and is very powerful as well.
Quick tip for people using Eye of Horus: if you have an Anna on your team, or if you are playing Anna, destroy the little side walls that are next to the enemy's forts and keeps, because those can block your shots, and you don't want to have it be that critical moment where you need to get that shot off to kill or heal someone, and then you realize, wait, the sidewall is still up and I'm hitting that instead.
That's a very good point. And there's so many situations too where I think I've got a clear shot, but you don't realize there's a sidewall or even just a hero like walking around in front of you. I was actually playing in AI when it was on the PTR, and if you ping a hero, like an AI hero, to follow you, and they just annoyingly kind of like hover around you, it makes it really tough to hit those shots because they like to like hover in front of you, and they might even just stand there and render you pretty much useless. So if you're an AI player, just take care, as there is that weird kind of quirk with AI characters that are following you. Okay, so let's get into our talent tree, shall we? I listened to Bakery and Dunk Train talk about Anna on Town Hall Heroes last week, and it gave me a lot of insight, and I realized I was doing my build wrong, at least compared to how they were building Anna. So we're going to go over the talent tree and see how things go, but I think generally the build that I like, and we'll see what Mystic likes too going from this, is spreading your doses. Build, I guess, maybe we can call it that. Spreading your doses, you talent into it so it reduces the spell power of the other team, amplifies your healing, and adds extra utility. So you're kind of like Lunara, just trying to spread your dots as many places as you can to maximize your effectiveness. I find you get a lot more damage and a lot more healing output simultaneously by using that build. Is that kind of the way that you're generally going to, Mystic, or are you seeing any other builds shake out? I mean, there might be a kind of a grenade build here as a second healer that I can see shaking out, but what do you think?
I really think the grenade build is very strong, just because it increases healing by 100%. If you're running that double support, then 100% increased healing. Like, how's your team ever gonna die?
Isn't it just healing radius though by 100%?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Healing. Well, but it still increases the duration from 4 to 12 seconds, which is pretty big.
Yes. So let's get into the talent tree, shall we? Anyway, so we're gonna go over most of the talents here because she does have a lot of options where you can choose. There's not a lot of garbage abilities here. There are a few, but not a ton. Starting with level 1, too, and I actually think there's a little bit of flexibility here at level 1. I'm going to go over the 3 talents. I'll talk to you about the ones that I like the most. We've got Grenade Calibration. All these are questing talents, by the way. Grenade Calibration is on her W, so her grenade ability. Her quest is to hit enemy heroes with Biotic Grenade. After hitting 10 heroes, Biotic Grenade does 75% more damage per allied and enemy hero hit. And after hitting 20 heroes, this is what Mystic was talking about earlier, Biotic Grenade's duration on allies is increased from 4 seconds to 12 seconds, and its healing radius is increased by 100%. So if you're looking for augmented healing, this Grenade Calibration talent is probably the way to go. Piercing Darts is the next talent. This is for her Sleep Dart. Hit heroes with the Sleep Dart is the quest. If you're hitting 10 heroes, Sleep Dart now hits 2 heroes, and its range is increased by 50%, which makes it significantly long. And after hitting 20 heroes, Healing Dart, kind of odd that it's a Sleep Dart talent, but it augments Healing Dart, but it does anyways, now hits 2 heroes, and its range is increased by 50%. The great thing about this one, this is the one I was tending towards, even last week's show was talking about this one as well, because the body blocking can be really annoying when she's using her main healing ability, the snipe. This gives a piercing, so you can get past that annoying hero in front of you to get to that hero on the front line that needs the healing, potentially even doubling your healing output. Finally, the last talent is Detachable Box Magazine. This is a trait ability, but also gives you an activatable ability. So the quest is to stack 5 doses on enemy heroes. So every time you max out your doses on enemy hero, you get 1 tick of this quest. After reaching maximum dosage 5 times, the doses deal 50% increased damage to enemies with 5 doses on them, which is significant. And after reaching a maximum dosage 15 times, and this is really key, you unlock the active reload ability. So this will be on your 1, which can be activated to instantly gain 3 charges of Healing Dart. And these are on no cooldown. So you press 1, or actually I guess you Q, press 1, and then hit Q 3, maybe 4 times, I guess, if it's on cooldown. So you can basically get 4 or 5 Qs off almost instantaneously on a hero, making it equivalent to an Ancestral Heal. So, Mystic, what do you like on level 1? A lot of options here.
I mean, like I said, the grenade build I think is pretty strong. I personally like the Detachable Box Magazine because it feels really good to, have your allies get bursted and then suddenly they're full health because you use the triple charges on them with the Healing Dart.
Yeah, I kind of wish I wish these were on different talent tiers. I think they're all pretty strong questing talents, but I also tend towards Detachable Box Magazine as well for the exact same reason. Getting a burst heal like that, it's almost getting a free ultimate. At least what I find, and it does take away one of the negatives of Ana in that she doesn't have that big burst heal. This gives it to her, so suddenly, in my mind, this talent alone can turn her into more of that burst healer that can have a lot more usefulness in those teamfight situations. But Piercing Hearts is nice, and so, as well as Grenade Calibration if you're going the grenade build. So look at level 4. If you're going grenade build, you're probably going to take this talent, right? Mystic Airstrike. This is where you can activate your. This gives you another activatable to use Biotic Grenade with a 200% increased range, but grenades thrown this way take 4 seconds to land. I feel like that is kind of garbage, but the good part of it is the passive, where you can reduce Biotic Grenade's cooldown by 4 seconds. So this, coupled with the level 1 talent we were talking about earlier, gives Grenade 100% augmented healing uptime. Is that what you pretty much take it for, or do you actually see a use for the increase in range for Biotic Grenade activatable?
I mean, you basically take it for the passive if you're going grenade build. The only real use for the airstrike itself is like, hey, I see them, they're channeling on a point or something, like a tribute or the Dragonite, and I have no way to really get close. So you can stop it one time with your Biotic Grenade airstrike. And that's about it.
Yeah, because a 4 second, I don't know what you call it, not cast time, but landing time, that's a significant delay. And it's tough to say that anything that's there when you cast it, it's going to be there 4 seconds from now too. So, but I mean, the 4 second cooldown on Biotic Grenade giving you that 100% uptime on your grenade, that is significant. You can essentially, if you plan it right, have 25% increased healing for your whole team for the whole game, right? So other level 4 talents, Overdose. This is actually the one that I like with the dose spreading bit that I was talking about before, if you want to go that build. This augments her W and her E, so her Sleep Dart and her Grenade. Hitting enemies with Sleep Dart and Biotic Grenade applies 2 doses. Now, I remember looking at this originally, I thought it was kind of a weak talent, but it does synergize well with others. So in itself, it's not strong. You're not going to be doing a ton more damage output with this, but it synergizes so well with some other abilities, and we'll get into those as we go through. And then finally, Aim Down Sights. This gives her an activatable D, and it increases her vision by 100%, vision radius by 100%, and basic attack range by 2, but reduces her movement speed by 20, and it lasts until it's cancelled. I tried this a couple times, not with very much success. How about you, Mystic?
I think it's an okay talent if, you know, you're going to go that route for the detachable box magazine thing, because, you know, it increases your range by 100%. That's okay. I mean, a lot of maps are confined enough that you're not really going to make too good of use for this. Only maps, you know, where you see this, like, a large area with no bushes or anything, or no vision cutoffs.
It does take a range up from 6.5 to 8.5, which is significant. Is that why you'd be taking it? Because, I mean, it's a big hit to do 20% slow, essentially, right? You don't have a lot of mobility to begin with. That just really cripples you.
Yeah, it essentially just gives you a safer way to apply your passive, and yeah, basically that's it.
Interesting. Maybe I'll have to play around with it again. Maybe like it and Overdose, I guess, are both very effective ways of spreading. I guess it depends how strong your front line is too, and how much fear protection you think you'll need. Getting in closer, I guess it might be easier to hit everyone with that Overdose talent level 4 instead. Okay, level 7. We've got Temporary Blindness on her. This is an E ability augment. After Sleep Dart's effects wear off, targets are blinded for 2 seconds. Is it safe to say this is a trash ability? I feel like it's kind of trash.
I mean, it's pretty trash unless you're being dove by an Illidan, or you know, if you can hit that tracer, right?
Even though 2 seconds, I feel like blinds aren't that strong, and most characters have ability damage. Like if you shoot them with a Sleep Dart, unless they're taking damage, you're likely going to get away regardless. Do you really need that extra blind? I guess you can use it in the fray, like if Illidan's on somebody else, or in like the middle of a fight to give that 2 second blind, but I just don't see the utility as being as strong as some of the other talents in this level. Because, look at the next talent, Mind Numbing Agent. Every dose a hero has reduces their spell power by 15%, and this can stack up to 5 times as many doses you have on someone. So 5 times 15, quick math, 75%. That's a lot of spell power reduction. This seems broken to me, and this seems almost like you have to pick it every time. What do you think, Mystic?
Yeah, I'd say this is the most powerful thing on this tier, talent on this tier. I know that Debilitating Dart, which is the next one, gets a lot of hate for being slow, but I think it's still pretty good personally.
Let's talk about that before we roll back into Mind Numbing Agent. So Debilitating Dart it gives you an active ability. This is the same range, speed, and cast time as her Sleep Dart, but it's called Debilitating Dart. It's on a 45-second cooldown. You activate it to fire a dart, which reduces the damage dealt by the first enemy hero hit by 50% for 4 seconds. But it's, like Sleep Dart, hard to hit. You miss it, you blow a 45-second cooldown, and you're also giving up Mind Numbing Agent. Because Mind Numbing Agent, let's just talk about that a little bit here. If you can spread your doses around, 75% spell power reduction, that basically makes Chromie a non-hero, Jaina a non-hero, Kael'thas a non-hero. Any of your spellcasters renders them pretty useless. I mean, it's hard enough to get doses on them, but even some stronger tanks or bruisers too, like Sonya's W's aren't going to be hitting nearly as hard. Her E's aren't going to be doing much. 75% spell damage reduction is just insane, and I can see them, if they ever touching that talent, to take it down to, I don't know, 10 or even 8%, because 15 is crazy per dose. And if you're spreading this on the team, if you throw a grenade out with the ability that I was mentioning before, Overdose, that gives, you know, Sleep Dart and Biotic Grenade 2 doses. You throw it, hit the whole team with 2 doses. That's 30% spell damage reduction to the whole team for at least 5 seconds. Longer if you keep those up. That does just seem utterly broken to me, and one of the reasons that I think Ana is a very powerful hero.
Yeah, it's pretty insane talent.
Level 13, we've got, and this is a utility tier, we'll call it that, because I feel like you can pretty much pick and choose depending on the situation. We got Speed Serum. These are all augments of her Q, so all of her Healing Dart. Healing Dart grants 25% movement speed to affected heroes for 1 second. We've got Purifying Darts. Healing Dart removes roots and slows from the target and heals them for 20% more when doing so. And finally, Smelling Salts. Healing Dart removes stuns from the target and grants them 50 armor for 2 seconds when doing so. So, these are like, I don't know, cleanse-esque abilities. More niche though, but they get a little boost there by getting extra healing or some extra armor as well. Do you have any argument for one over the other, or is this completely situational, Mystic?
I'd say it's almost completely situational. If they have a bunch of stuns, you take the Smelling Salts. If they have a bunch of roots and slows, you take the Purifying Darts. Any other situation, you take Speed Serum. I mean, they're all really good.
Yeah, and I mean, Purifying Darts is really nice too. Even if there's something like a Jaina on the other team, there's going to be a lot of slows out there, and you get 20% more healing, and you remove the slows, so that you can help them run away, give them more mobility. You're basically giving, whatever it ends up being, 20% movement extra speed because they're slow by 20%. You're speeding them up by 20%. It does almost the same thing as Speed Serum, but it also gives them 20% more healing as well. Or, I mean, the Smelling Salts 50 armor for 2 seconds, which is basically infinite 50 armor if you keep hitting with your Q because it's only on a 2-second cooldown. It's pretty nice ability, very similar to Uther's Guardian of Ancient Kings. It's level 16. Big power spike for her here. I'd say similar to Lucio in that this is where she can get a lot more healing output. You've got some choices here. You got Sharpshooter, which augments her Healing Dart. Healing Dart's healing is increased by 5% each time it hits a hero up to 50%. This bonus is reset if Healing Dart fails to hit a hero. This is if you play Nova, you know this kind of talent very well. Concentrated Doses is the next one, also affects Healing Dart. Healing Darts increases Healing Dart's healing by 10% for each dose active on an enemy hero. And this is another one where I didn't realize at first. I was usually going Sharpshooter, but hearing Dunk Train and Bakery talk about it, Concentrated Doses is uncapped. So 10% bonus healing for each dose put out there. If you're going dose spread build, throw out a grenade, hit 3 or 4 heroes, that's like 60 to 80% extra healing. Plus, you've got a few auto attacks out there. You can easily get up to 100, 200% even bonus healing in that teamfight situation, making your Qs hella powerful, especially if you went level 1 detachable, detachable box magazine, where you get the free 3 ones in a row, because those are affected as well, because those are Qs. You can take anyone from 0 to full if you've got a lot of doses out there. So Concentrated Doses, in my mind, is almost the no-brainer pick. The broken pick, the one I'm expecting to get capped if Ana ever gets nerfed in any way. And finally, we got Contact Healing. This is the W. Biotic Grenades. It heals for 30% more per allied and enemy hero hit. So Mystic, are you going Concentrated Doses most often?
I think if you do go the Overdose talent, then you almost have to pick this talent. It's like way too strong if you went Overdose. You don't even need detachable box magazine if you took Overdose, because let's just say you took the Sleep Dart one. Now your Q's pierced, right? You still heal for a ton because you throw out your grenade, hit 3 or 4 heroes, and then you Q 2 people, and it still heals for a ton. So,
and I love conditional talent. Like, conditional talents are annoying as hell, but the ones like this that give you a bonus for playing the hero the way you should be playing them anyways are ones that I like. Like, you should be spreading your doses. So since you're spreading your doses, you're getting a positive feedback loop. You're getting more healing out for spreading those doses. It's a great augment, and I think a great just design talent. Yes, I think it's broken and maybe should be reeled in a little bit, but I like the general design of the talent, and I think it's a very, very powerful one as well, giving her a big talent spike at 16. But that being said, Sharpshooter does have its place too. The only frustrating thing is you get that 50% after finally hitting 10 heroes over the course of 20 seconds or longer, and then you miss one, you're starting back at 0, because it can be pretty frustrating. Whereas Concentrated Doses doesn't work well out of fight, but in fight, you're generally going to have quite a bit of extra bonus healing coming out of that. And then getting to level 20s, we've got Nano Infusion. This is where allies affected by Nano Boost heal for 50% of the spell damage dealt. Ballistic Advantage. This is where Eye of Horse's rounds explode upon impacting a hero, healing nearby allies for 300 plus 4% per level and dealing 150. damage to nearby enemy heroes, so just a bit of like an area of effect there. Somnolent doses? Is that how you say it? Anyways, upon stacking 5 doses, heroes are put to sleep for 2 seconds. I like this one. Dynamic shooting. Basic attacks increase attack speed by 10% for 4 seconds up to 100%. Holy crap, can she ever attack fast once that's stacked? And it doesn't have to be heroes, too. It can be on anything. And in custom optics, this is if you took aim down sight at level 4. It increases that attack range bonus from 2 to 4. What are you taking here, Mystic?
Well, I like ballistic advantage. Well, I think the good ones are ballistic advantage. Somnolent doses are really good. Dynamic shooting is really good as well for like the dose stacking as well. Nano infusion is okay depending on the target, and I feel like custom optics is actually the weakest one, unless you feel like you feel like playing Sergeant Hammer as Anna for whatever reason.
I liked somnolent doses quite a bit. Getting 5 doses on here, especially if you're going the doses spread build, is fairly easy. It only puts them to sleep once until all their doses are reset, but still you get that free 0.5 second stun, or maybe even 3 seconds of sleep. If you're getting kited late game, which I mean doesn't happen as much, you hit them 5 times, and then you just run, right? You don't even have to hit your sleeping dart. You can combo this with your sleeping dart. You put them to sleep. You put them to sleep for another 3 seconds if you hit them with your E. They're stationary already, easy to hit. You can wait for the rest of your team to get there. I like that quite a bit. I found dynamic shooting, where you increase the basic attack speed, very distracting. Already, Ana has to spam her Q nonstop. She's a very high maintenance hero, I guess I'll say. Like there's a lot of things going on. Having to weave in 4 or 5 auto attacks between your Qs I found it to get distracting. Obviously, if you're a better player, maybe with a higher APM than me, you can handle that. But I had some issues weaving that in. But somnolent doses is the way that I seem to prefer the most. So, all this being said, what do you think of Ana? Like I said, she's got a really low win rate. Do you think she's weak? Do you think she's just misunderstood? What do you think, Mystic?
I think she's a fairly balanced hero, maybe a little bit on the strong side. In competitive, I feel like she's very strong, but overall, I feel like she's pretty strong. Not like OP strong, but...
When I was playing in Team League yesterday, Ana's being picked pretty frequently. She was first or second picked on the other team, and I think they picked an Uther as their secondary healer. I was sitting there looking at my healer options. I was like, I can't pick Rhaegar now, because just the fear that your ancestrals are going to get negated. You have to like really take that into consideration. I started looking and be like, okay, what healers aren't going to be as impacted by Ana as much? I was looking at maybe like a Lucio, maybe a medic. I think I ended up going Stukov, but so you gotta be really careful, because any of those big burst heals, like specifically Rhaegar's, are something you gotta worry about. And playing against Ana too, if you're the healer on the other team, you have to really make sure you keep an eye out for the healing indicator, because there is a new healing indicator on the UI too, which says negative 100% with a little healing plus icon. You gotta keep an eye out for that, because if you're throwing down a big heal or any heal, like when I was playing Stukov, I didn't want to use my D while that was active, obviously, because you'd lose all that healing. So you got to keep an eye on it and make sure you're very aware as to when that grenade ability of negating 100% healing is active, because you will completely lose a lot of your healing output if you don't pay attention to that. And it's not loud, like you don't necessarily notice it too, so you got to keep a really close eye out for it, especially on your primary healing target. Do you think Ana is a great counter to a lot of heroes? Because that's what I see her as. I see her as a great counter with the utility she brings.
Yeah, she's essentially a counter to any hero that can heal themselves, like Malthael, right? If Malthael goes in, he activates his Tormented Souls, right? And then if he gets hit by that biotic grenade, well, he does a little bit more damage, and then he's dead because he can't heal himself.
One thing I found is that it's not as effective against kind of like that constant heal, like from a Morales, for instance, because yeah, you shut her down for 2 seconds, but shutting down Morales for 2 seconds isn't killing her output that much. She's more about the consistent healing. Same thing with like a Brightwing, like, oh, big whoop, you miss like a tick, maybe 2 of healing on one hero, not a big deal, but it's those burst heals and those burst self regens, like I said, your Dahakas, your Butchers, anyone who relies on getting their healing back up in a short amount of time is, I think, where Ana really shines. So what kind of comps would you take on into? Do you think she can solo heal? Because one of the things is she doesn't really have a self heal. Her grenade can, but you're probably not going to be using her grenade to self heal. So does that force her into a dual support role almost exclusively?
I'd say you can use her as a solo healer if they don't have any dive and that they have consistent damage and like low burst, because Ana can heal up consistent damage like really easily because she has 15 mana, 2-second cooldown, right? Healing dart, which is really good consistent healing. But burst, it's much harder unless you have the detachable box magazine completed. I'd say most of the time, though, you're going to want her in a double healer comp because that shores up a lot of her weaknesses. Like, people diving her. Because, if you wanted to dive Ana and then, you're like, okay, we just got to kill her because she has no mobility. She can only heal herself with Biotic Grenade. But if you have another healer like an Uther or a Tyrande or something like that, then she becomes much, much harder to kill.
One thing I did notice, and referencing the game I played yesterday as well, when they took Ana and Uther, they really hampered their wave clear. And that's, I guess, one of the things you got to be careful of with the dual support, because Ana has essentially non-existent wave clear. And a lot of other supports don't as well. Like, do you think you should only be pairing her with someone with significant wave clear as another support? Like I said, maybe like a Tastar or like maybe even a Rhaegar, or can you get away with the Ana Uther if you've got wave clear in other places?
I think, yeah, it depends on what the strategy you're going for, but you do want more wave clear when you pick up Ana and another healer, because one of the weaknesses, I feel like, with the double healer comp is you're supposed to have low-ish wave clear, right? And you want to supplement that into your team comp, or else, the enemy's going to pick, like, I don't know, a Murky or an Asmo against you, and then you're not going to be able to clear fast enough to do that and the objective.
What do you think about her damage?
I think her damage is pretty low, and I feel like it's rightfully so to be low because she has so much utility and healing and stuff.
When you say low, are you comparing to other healers? Like I seem to find her being average, if not a little bit above average, compared to other healers for damage output when I was playing her. But maybe that was just the games that I was not of a large subset. But it felt like if you went dose build and spread those doses well, you could get we're not talking like topping healing numbers, but significant healing, not like Morales level healing or anything.
Well, I mean, the doses, if you can stack them on everybody, that does pretty okay damage as far as numbers go, but it's over 5 seconds, right? You're not going to be bursting someone down or anything like that. So it's like, it's okay damage, but I don't feel like it's significant enough to be bursty. It's just a little thing that creeps in.
Yeah, because that's another thing double support always has a problem with, right, is damage output. And I guess that's just always something to consider as well. If you take that Uther with your Ana, if you're lowering your damage output there, like what are you looking at? You're looking at a single tank, maybe two assassins, or you're looking at a hyper carry with 2 tanks in front of you, or at least 2 frontline, which can be it has its own challenges too outside of competitive. So do you think Ana's going to see a lot of competitive play? Because she screams to me competitive hero.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see her a lot in competitive. I'm also going to say that there's probably going to be some trial here and there. Like, you're going to see some teams fail, and you're going to see some teams that are just like, oh, man, this is the new meta. She's invincible or something like that. But then she'll settle down.
I bet you LiQuiD's probably got a lot of insights on here. Too bad he's sleeping away through the podcast. But, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because now that we're so close to BlizzCon too, and I don't honestly don't know what patch they're going to be bringing along to BlizzCon, but I'm assuming Ana will be available, at least a couple weeks prior to BlizzCon. I wonder if there's. See, this is a problem not having LiQuiD here. I don't know if there's any major events or anything leading up to BlizzCon where Ana will be available. And do you really want to bring someone into BlizzCon that you haven't had a lot of solid competitive practice time with, too, especially someone so utility like Ana? So it'll be interesting to see if they actually pull her out during BlizzCon. I imagine you've got scrims and everything too in boot camp, so maybe you will. But yeah, she seems like a very powerful hero, especially in the hands of someone who's very skilled. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of her come the future. Okay, let's move along. We are not going to talk about Volskaya this week. It's a new battleground. We're going to give it a week to simmer so we can evaluate, come up with our own strategies. I'm sure LiQuiuD will want to chime in too. So we're going to be talking in depth about Volskaya next week, which brings us to the patch notes, because there's quite a few of them. So we did have a patch that dropped yesterday. That's the Ana patch. We got the Pakamari event that came in with it. We also had a lot of changes in here. Just some changes to a lot of changes to heroes, but some changes just in general beforehand that we're going to go over. Impaler and Trooper camps. So those are the Siege Mercs on Volskaya, Battlefield of Eternity and Infernal Shrines. On Battlefield of Eternity and Infernal Shrines, the guys that huck the spears, if you're wondering which ones they are. They're tweaked to do less damage early game, but scale heavier into the late game. I guess they decided that they needed to do some balancing of those guys. So just make a note, if you see those coming down the lane later game, they're probably going to be doing a bit more damage. Hanamura and Volskaya Mercs got some changes. There's no longer a channel time to pick up the rewards, and the support camp can no longer be bribed. I can't believe it took them that long to bring that into Hanamura. They heard there was a lot of noise about that. A lot of people didn't like that in Volskaya as well, so they took it away. And I think that makes sense. You don't want to be taking bribe heroes for this kind of mechanic. I think it was an odd choice not to disable that right off the bat. There's a sandbox mode available for Volskaya now, similar to Cursed Hollow. We mentioned it before in the show, but it also allows for the instant spawn of a Protector now. So if you want to get some practice on Protector, pop in try mode. You don't even need to do full 5 teams on each side. You can just pop on in, try out the gunner seat, try out the pilot seat, and get used to that Triglav Protector. Because if you're in there for the first time, especially if you got Quick Cast on, it can be pretty hella confusing. Okay, we see some changes to vehicles as well. All vehicles, that's Dragonite, Garden Terror, and the Triglav Protector, are now always unstoppable. So there was the developer says they had some special circumstances already, kind of like Stukov couldn't massive shove any of these vehicles, and there's some other fringe cases they were dealing with. There used to always be 50% less root and stun time on vehicles, but now they just said, you know what, let's just make an unstoppable baseline just to make the whole situation a lot simpler. Do you think this is going to change the way people play Dragonites, Garden Terrors, Triglav Protectors, or play against them, Mystic?
Yeah, I think it will, because it just means like, hey, some of the stuff that you've drafted that's CC oriented, you're no longer able to like stun lock any of the vehicles. So that would shift it a bit more to, hey, we need more damage so we can take it down faster, like when it's within our range, instead of being able to CC it.
Yeah, and that was a pretty effective strategy too, because the Garden Terror, if it's trying to run away and you're slowing it, stunning it, you can keep up with it, keep the damage up, but now I'm not gonna be able to do that anymore. It's gonna be able to walk right through a mosh pit and to start wailing on everybody too. So keep that in mind if you're coming up against or if you're in any of the vehicles. Dragonite also got some changes too. Its move speed was reduced by 20% and its health was reduced by 10%. Dragonites were hitting pretty hard. Is this going to bring them back in line, or is this a little bit too much?
20% movement speed reduction is pretty huge, as is the 10% health reduction. So, I mean, on the upside, it's now unstoppable. So I'd say it's a bit on the weaker side personally, but we'll see.
I guess time will tell for that one. We also got new battleground rotations. We got Volskaya in the rotation. A lot of people are saying that shouldn't have happened right off the bat. Haunted Mines, Towers of Doom, and Warhead Junction all added. I don't know about having Haunted Mines in the rotation too. I kind of wish that one was sitting on the sidelines. We've lost Blackheart's Bay, Braxis Holdout. I'm shedding a single tear for that one. I love playing on Braxis, and Sky Temple. And still kicking in the rotation at Battlefield of Eternity, Cursed Hollow, Dragon Shower, Infernal Shrines, and Tomb of the Spider Queens. They kept a lot of the good oldies. What do you think of this battleground rotation? Haunted Mines, Volskaya. I think those are pretty trolly picks to get in Team League? Or
well, Volskaya, everybody's gonna not know the optimal strategy, as is when Hanamura was released, right? So there's gonna be a lot of like, hey, this is the best thing to do. No, this is the best thing to do. Heck, maybe run the Triglav Protector into the enemies, then everybody exit out of the Protector, so it's tanking the towers while you have a team of 5. Who knows?
Speaking of not knowing what to do, I played a game with you yesterday where you were running the wrong way on a conveyor belt and you ended up getting blown up as KT the other day.
Oh yeah, I was running away and I was like, yeah, I'll just move this way, and then I realized, wait, there's a conveyor belt here. And I'm gonna say, in my defense, it was my first time playing that map, so
fair enough. It's really hard to get used to the directions, like especially when you're in those team fights. And there's the one spawn location on Volskaya where of the objective where there's just a ton of conveyor belts like looping in circles. I've seen some great Twitch and YouTube clips already of just people running around like a clown fiesta, just going around in circles, just like no one can kill anybody too, just crazy interactions as well. It'll be interesting to see how those shake out. And I think it was Bakery was saying that he's happy that that location will likely only spawn once throughout the game, because I think it's the third spawn location. So you're unlikely to get that come up again. So he's okay with it because it only comes up once at that location. And I think I'm right there with him, saying, hey, if that location spawned multiple times, I think they'd have to do some changes to those conveyor belts. Okay, we also have some updates to AI. We mentioned this a couple shows ago. They had some AI improvements to the newer heroes since Garrosh, but they've retroactively fit it to 23 of the older heroes. So quickly, we're getting to a whole bunch of AI improvements for all the older heroes, bringing them up to stuff with the new AI systems. If you get a chance to go into AI, you'll notice the AI behave a lot differently, smarter in some cases, a lot dumber in others. I've seen them get stuck in corners and run into towers and stuff quite frequently still. So AI still ain't human. Mystic having a breakdown on his side there. Hopefully your computer's not broken there after that. I don't even know what happened there.
Something just fell off my desk.
Okay, so the world's not ending. I don't have to call the medics, eh?
Oh yeah, earthquake.
Wouldn't that be something, having an earthquake on one end on stream, eh? Okay, so we've already mentioned it before, but healing indicators have been added to the game too. So if you've got anything that augments healing or reduces healing, notably Ana, you'll notice a little indicator next to their name, very similar to armor indicators. Definitely keep an eye on this if you're playing against Anas, because it's very important to know. This one's great. I know LiQuiuD love this too. Loot chests purchased will now grant rare loot chests instead of normal loot chests. So you get a little bit more better rarity items in your loot chest purchases now. This is only for purchased ones, and it's not retroactive. So it's only for ones that you purchase from here on out. Also, going along those lines, the Celestial Raptor has replaced the Celestial Steed. So if you want to buy items again, and you haven't, in the last few days, you'll now get a Celestial Raptor to run alongside your friend's Celestial Steeds. Same thing. It's like that kind of spacey look where they're almost transparent, no texture to them, except it's a raptor instead of the horse. Pretty cool. And now that we're wrapping up the patch notes, before we talk to the heroes, we're going to do the bug fix of the patch. And this is where Genji's Dragon Blade will no longer benefit from the cooldown reduction abilities such as Innervate and, more notably, Nano Boost. Because a Nano Boosted Genji was ridiculous, right, Mystic?
It was the press R, you wipe the entire enemy team.
Yeah. Blizzard was quick to respond to that, being like, nope, we don't want that in our game. Time to get rid of it. But they've still got the Nano Boost Malthael, which is pretty powerful as well. Being able to spam that Q. Basically, you can just hold down Q because the cooldowns are non-existent. But yeah, any heroes with those really short cooldown ability-based damage, I think are nuts. Like the Machine Gun Medivh I've seen too. So yeah, anyways, Dragon Blade is no longer one of those gimmicky combos you can do with Nano Boost. Or Innervate, not that it really mattered before with Innervate. So moving on to our heroes. We've got some changes to the way globals work now, guys. The global abilities for Falstad, Abathur, Brightwing, and Dahaka, those are their movement abilities, will now go on a 10-second cooldown when interrupted. And that includes self-cast interruptions. So if you cancel in the middle of casting your global ability, you're going on a 10-second cooldown. And a little side note too, you'll also announce in the chat when you're doing these global abilities, like probably Falstad is flying or whatever. But I don't know if I like these. Do you like this change, Mystic?
I actually really like this change. I feel like this should have been in the game to begin with, actually, because it was kind of frustrating where you're like, okay, Dahaka's trying to use his tunnel. All right, I saved my stun. I interrupted him. And then, like, after your stun is over, he starts tunneling again. It's like, well.
The thing that I can see, I was actually thinking from the other side of it, the self-canceling side. And that's where I find it would be annoying. I'm not sure about you, but if I play a lot of games as other heroes and I come in as a Falstad, I notice that, like after you're done, whatever your little skirmish is, just muscle reflex. You press that Z button, right? And if doing it as Falstad, you don't mount up. You start to fly. So you're going to have to probably cancel it, which I have to do often until I start getting the muscle memory of the Falstad. It goes on a 10-second cooldown. That's a fairly significant cooldown for a self-cancel. I can understand for the interrupted side of it, just like a heroic going on cooldown for a significant length of time. But self-canceling, I don't know if I like that very much.
Yeah, I could totally see that, but as you get on, you're going to get that muscle memory, and it's not really going to be that much of an issue.
Some of us hit Z by accident, Mystic, and we just need to cancel those without penalty. This is a nerf to us in those not in Diamond and Master for sure. Okay, so Chromie had a small change. Time Trap now is a mini-map icon. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Let's move along. Nova, she's had some changes, some slight buffs. Hollow Decoy now has a sight range equal to heroes. It used to be half that of heroes, so it's actually significant. You can use it as like a full warding hero, basically. Level 4, she lost remote delivery, but she got Hollow Stability, which now increases the cast range and duration of Hollow Decoy by 100%. Level 7, Anti-Armor Shells, which reduces the auto attack time by 250%, but increases the damage of auto attacks by 250%, will now also decrease the physical armor of the target by 10. Again, not a huge difference, for 3 seconds. Of course, you're auto attacking really slowly, so you're not going to get too much benefit out of this as Nova if you take any armor shells, but your team will. And then level 13, Sonic Efficiency now increased the range of snipe from 10% to 15%. Not many people probably took it in the first place, but hey, if you did before, you get a little bit of extra bonus. So what do you think about the changes in Nova here, Mystic?
Well, I think the anti-armor shells are a fairly interesting change because now, it benefits your team. You're no longer, hey, I'm just like the slow is the only thing that I have that benefits my team, with the damage. But with this physical armor reduction, it allows her to like, hey, my team's damage output isn't as high, and I don't need like the extra damage from Snipe Master, so I can put it into anti-armor shells. And at level 13, I actually was the one that took that talent with Snipe Master, and I thought it was very effective. So
you really need that extra 10% range, eh, Mystic?
Oh yeah, 10% extra range is like really noticeable when you're trying to snipe at maximum range.
Yeah, Nova is definitely one of the heroes I shy away from. I rarely ever play her. There's not a very good opportunity to play her in ranked play. So playing her in ranked and unranked and quick matches, it's definitely a hero I should maybe try dusting off again. I just have always hated the stealth mechanic, which is well documented. So I don't want to perpetuate the cycle of hatred there by playing too much Nova, like some other people I know. So Karazim got some changes too. They tried to shift his healing from his damage build, Iron Fist Karazim, to his Transcendence and Insight build. I guess they thought Iron Fist Karazim being a solo healer was not the way that they wanted people to build him, so they took the healing away from that and shifted it over to the other two builds, which I think is kind of interesting. So Breath of Heaven, the cooldown of it, his main heal, is increased from 8 to 10 seconds. The mana cost is increased from 60 to 65. So how does that shift healing over to the other builds? Well, Transcendence now heals from 30. Sorry, it used to be 73 to 96 per every 3 basic attacks. So you get like an extra almost 20% healing addition to your Transcendence trait there. And Insight, this is what I'm actually particularly excited about. The cooldown reduction has been increased from 1 to 1.5 seconds per every 3 basic attacks. So you can essentially get a lot more uptime on your abilities, and you can spam those abilities like crazy. And I like Insight Karazim because it makes him a lot more of a busy hero. You can press a lot of buttons and get a lot more heals out once you get that quest finished. And finally, level 16 Dash of Light. This increases the bonus healing after you dash to a hero, instead of just 50% from before to 75% to dash in your hero. Of course, this is up against some pretty competitive talents, so you're unlikely to take this one. So what do you think about Karazim now? Do you think there's a lot more viability to his Insight and Transcendence builds? Because I actually liked his Insight build before, and this gives him a little bit more utility there.
So I think the Insight build is a lot more powerful now in terms of offense. In terms of healing, I feel like it's a bit better, but not as much as the others because they increase the healing, and I think that's what the cooldown, and I think that's what they're trying to go with, for this. As far as Transcendence goes, I feel like that's a pretty big increase because 73 to 96. I mean, I don't think Transcendence was like super awful. It was kind of bad compared to Insight and, especially Iron Fists. But this is a lot of increase. And I think it might be a bit over the top, but you know, we'll see where it goes.
I guess we'll see as we get some more monk games in. I do want to point out that Insight, now that it is reducing the cooldown from 1 to 1.5 seconds, if you're hitting more of those, you just have to hit 4 hits in order to get your Breath of Heaven down to the old cooldown. Plus, all your other abilities are cooling down faster. So I think it kind of balances out there. That's why they did that, change the Insight to adjust for the Breath of Heaven cooldown increase. So Rhaegar got some changes as well. Now, I don't know if I like these. His chain heal is the big thing got touched here. The cast range was reduced from 8 to 6. So suddenly, you're within range of those Annas. You're within range of those Rainers. You're getting just the edge of all those ranges, all your other kind of auto attack ranged heroes. So you got to be a little more careful. The bounce range is reduced from 8 to 7 too. So you're not going to be getting as many bounces. The primary healing has been reduced from 334 to 250, a sizable reduction. However, the secondary bounce healing has been increased from 167 to 250. So is he turning out to be less of a bursty healer outside of his ultimate and more of a spread healer a la Brightwing or Lucio now, Mystic?
Rhaegar, I think he actually needed this just because, you know, he was super strong. And I actually like the direction that they're taking with these changes because chain heal, right? When you read that, what do you think? Oh, it's a heal in a giant area. But what it was more used for was heal on a single target and like a tiny heal in like the other areas. So I'm kind of actually glad that they're spreading it out evenly so that it's more of a, hey, I'm healing everybody instead of healing you, and then you guys get like residual healing or something.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make less decisions too now. You don't have to pick your target as carefully. As long as everyone's kind of near each other, you know they're going to get the bounces. You don't have to be like, hey, that guy's lowest, I got to heal him first. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this works out. I do think it's a nerf to Rhaegar, but like you said, he probably needed it. Rhaegar was still probably the only healer that could really just be a generalist healer and isn't really niche. He's got the cleanse, he's got burst heal, he's got sustain heals, he's got damage, he's got wave clear. They needed to touch something there. It's probably not healthy to have one utility, like one generalist healer. Personally, I think they should have multiple generalist healers and get away from the specialty bit that they're doing, because I think specializing healers forces you into dual healer compositions or dual support compositions, which I don't necessarily agree with. But hey, this is the way that Blizzard's going. This is the way they chose to touch on Rhaegar, and I mean, he still got his burst heal with his ancestral. They just have to be a little bit careful about your healing targets and knowing that you just don't have as much oomph to your initial heal target as you used to. Okay, Joanna got some heals. Sorry, not heals. Got some changes too. I've only had one game in with her. I performed horribly. I didn't really know what talents to take. I just tried a few things out. We'll go over some of the notable changes. Maybe we'll get LiQuiuD to chime in next week. We'll go a little more in depth there. We'll see what Mystic thinks about Joanna as well. So the big change to her ultimate, Falling Sword, mana cost was reduced by 10%. The damage was reduced by 50%, but now it applies 50% slow for 2.5 seconds after enemies are knocked into the air. I tried it. I used to never take this talent. I never really understood why people take it. I always liked her throwing shield talent, whatever it's called, because I liked it as an engage. I liked it as a disengage. And the problem with Falling Sword that I find whenever I use it is removing your body from the field. You can't do what a tank has got to do. You jump for however long it is, 3 seconds. You could be doing abilities. You could be disrupting the other enemy team. You could be body blocking. You're not doing that here. I mean, yes, you can use it as engaged. It's got the slow on it now too, but I didn't find it has as much utility now as the shield throw. What do you think, Mystic?
I think that, I mean, they changed the damage from utility, but it still has the same problem, and that's what you were talking about earlier. You remove your hero for 2.5 seconds. That's the biggest thing. That's why no one takes this ability, because you're just gone for 2.5 seconds. If you jump up into the air and they made it so you could, like, after maybe a half a second or maybe a second or something, choose when you come down, then that would make the ability so much better.
That's a simple fix. Very similar to Dahaka. Like when he used to have his burrow where you couldn't come up from the burrow until the full duration, that was hell of annoying too. Like they finally changed that one. I don't know what it was, maybe a year ago. But I think Joanna's Falling Sword could benefit from a reactivatable ability like that to come down. Because that's the other thing too. You're sitting up there, you're like, you're just watching your enemy team, your whole team die. And you're like, I want to come down now, but I can't come down now. And then suddenly you come down, everyone's dead. You know, you should have taken the other ultimate. Lessons learned, I guess. So some other notable changes too. I like Joanna. I used to pick her all the time. I personally don't think she really needed too many changes. She hasn't really been changed since her release, very much at all, if any, really. But level 1, they took away one talent that I liked taking quite a bit. It was Regen Master. I used to like coupling that with her Laws of Hope. But now there's no Regen Master, and Laws of Hope is a level 1 talent. Let's move from level 4 to level 1. And Laws of Hope got changed itself, too. It went from a 20% heal on a 60-second cooldown to a 30% heal on a 40-second cooldown. Fairly significant bump. I actually noticed that when I was laning with it, I was almost using it on cooldown all the time, too, just as a little top-up. It also has had a passive health regen nerf from 10 health per second to 1.5 health per second. So it has more utility in fight, less utility when you're traveling between objectives or from place to place on the map. They also added Hold Your Ground on level 1 from level 13, but there was a slight change to it. The cooldown reduction of 4 seconds on your D is now baseline, it's not conditional, and you get 20% more shield. So you got some choices there, but Laws of Hope is pretty powerful, I think. Level 7 got a new talent, Zealous Glare. Increases the blind duration of shield glare by 0.5 seconds, but auto attacks from Joanna against these heroes increase the duration by 1 second up to 3 seconds. So you can get a little bit more utility out of your blind. Now, the only problem is Joanna doesn't have the fastest auto attack in the world. She gets a little bit less than 1 off per second. So you pretty much have to blind, hit that person. You can only do it to one person to get that extended for a few seconds. But hey, you can really lock down a hero for 3 plus 0.5 plus whatever the base was for it anyways. Subdue is a neat talent too. So you hit 2 or more heroes with Q to increase the slow of her Q to 80%, up from 60%. And there'll be no decay over the 2 seconds. They added in a quest to this, and when I took Joanna, I couldn't complete this quest for the life of me, even though they had 3 melee heroes. You hit 4 of them, I think they may have had 4 melee heroes. You hit 4 of them at one time with your Q, then your Q will always slow for 80% with no decay, no matter how many heroes you hit. God, that was hard for me to complete. I don't know why. Maybe it was just the situation of the game. What do you think of these new talents, or these new rework talents here at level 7?
I really like them actually, because it gives Johanna a bit more options, especially the subdue talent where 60% to 80% and it doesn't decay. That's actually really strong. If you can get it off, and especially if you can hit the 4 heroes at one time. Yeah, they just kind of threw in a couple of things that they thought Johanna might like, and subdue I think was a really good one.
Yeah. Level 13, Burning Rage, has been changed to Holy Fury. I used to take Burning Rage too. It's got the same effect, but does significantly less damage. 50% less damage. It's that kind of like burning effect that a lot of heroes have. However, it increases the damage by 40% for each arrow hit by... Oh god, I didn't put in the notes here. By your Q? W? E?
It's W.
By your W. So if you pull a few in, suddenly you're getting a lot more Burning Rage. I guess it makes sense. You pull them in, then you burn them even more, right?
Yep.
Still useful for clearing Zagara creep or finding Zagara creep in the first place, especially on Volskaya when creep can move around on conveyor belts. I guess taking Burning Rage would be pretty useful because you can be able to figure out where they are when they're moving. Level 20, one noticeable nerf here to a trait that a talent that I always took was Indestructible. This is where you gain a shield instead of dying. The shield lasts only for 4 seconds now instead of 5, which is a significant amount of time, especially as you're running away. Typically the whole team's chasing you, waiting for that shield to run off. Suddenly it's going to turn off a second earlier. Could lead to a lot more dead Joannas. Storm Shield is now Blinded by the Light. Little nod to that song from the 80s. Activate to grant nearby allies a shield equal to 25% of the maximum health instead of 20, which is a standard Storm Shield, for 3 seconds. Hitting enemy heroes with Shield Glare, her E, will reduce this cooldown by 8 seconds. It's on a 60-second cooldown. So Storm Shield is typically 45 seconds. This is 60-second cooldown, but you've got a way to reduce it with your Shield Glare, so you can get it down fairly low if you hit a lot of heroes. Do you think that's going to take anyone away from Indestructible? Because that's such a strong talent, those saving you from death talents, especially as a tank.
I think that it is now a consideration because, Indestructible was that talent that you're just like, just pick it. It's like the strongest talent on that tier. But now I'd like to say that it is Blinded by the Light is now in contention with Indestructible because if you're not dying, that usually means that your team is. So having that Storm Shield up, that's, you have the 60-second Storm Shield, but it could potentially be lower. I think that's, pretty good talent.
I guess a lot of it depends too on your comp. Like if you've got another tank with you, maybe less healing output, this is a good little utility to the other tank because they got 3% health in the form of a shield. Whereas if you're a single tank, you're soaking up a lot of that damage. You might need that Indestructible to survive to get out of dodge, and it's great too. I like the surprise of Indestructible too because they'll focus you down. They'll be like, "Oh wait, she took Indestructible and it's off cooldown. We did not. We just spent a lot into trying to kill that Joanna who's about to not die, right?" So there is that as well.
So do we know that if it's just you hit an enemy hero and it's reduced by 8 seconds, or is it per enemy hero hit?
I actually don't know. I'm assuming it's per enemy hero hit. But I could be very wrong on that. If it's per enemy hero hit, it might very well be broken. So if you hit 4 or 5 heroes with that,
40 seconds off your 60-second.
Exactly. So that could be strong, but I could still see that being,
since it's a level 20 talent, right?
We'll have to test that out. Maybe report back next week, or maybe someone in the chat will let us know. Okay, Mystic. That is the patch, sir, which means it's time for Mystic's Shakedown.
Mystic, I require service of you. I come to you as a friend, asking you to shake down this situation for me.
Mystic, shake down the situation for us, bud.
Okay, so as everybody knows, there's a bunch of different heroes in this game, and they all do a bunch of different things, right? But in every team comp, each hero has their own role. And I have this list here that I'm going to kind of explain and how each hero fits into the thing. Their heroes can be in multiple categories as well, so you kind of mix and match until you have your dream team comp or something. So the first one is the finisher. And heroes like Li Ming, Genji, right? They get the resets, they finish off a hero, they build off of that momentum, and it's really good for heroes, or they pair well with heroes that have either burst damage or sustain damage, which are the next two ones. The burst damage and sustain damage whittle down the enemy heroes, and then your finishers go in, they finish them off, and they build off of that momentum, and it really helps you win the team fight. Then we have the Soaker, which they kind of just they're kind of the wave clear, right? They go in, they wave clear, and these are heroes like Asmodan. They can be KT. There's Zool, right? They go in the lanes, they clear it really fast, and they just soak up the EXP. Asmodan has his little special Demon General, which can off soak from the lane that the Demon General kills minions. Then you have the Initiator. The Initiator it doesn't have to be a tank. It can be Stitches, which is a tank, or it can be someone with any hard CC, such as an Uther with Divine Storm, right? If he walks up to, let's just say, a Rhaegar who's dueling him or something, or attacks him, stun into Divine Storm, that's an initiation right there. Or, stuff like that. Any CC ability. Even KTZ, Kel'Thuzad, he can initiate with his Glacial Spike into the Chains of Kel'Thuzad and then just pick someone off, and that's an engage, because they have to engage onto you or that target's probably going to die. Next, we have the Peeler. This is usually healers, but it could also be anybody with CC as well. It can be tanks like ETC. They can peel for your backline, or it could even be yet again, Kel'Thuzad, because he can throw out roots, stuns, and just CC any divers that are coming at your backline. Then we have healers. Self-explanatory. They heal your group. You usually want to keep them alive or pick off the enemy healer. Yeah, they're pretty important. And lastly, we got the crowd controller. So I put this in here because it's different than the Initiator and the Peeler. Because the Peeler helps your backline. The Initiator initiates the fight with crowd control onto their team. However, the crowd controller, he waits until the initiation goes off, and if your team doesn't need peeling, then he goes in and he controls the fight in your favor. So this could be like Ethereal Holy Ground, right? I'd call him a crowd controller because he's actually creating terrain, he's moving, he's splitting off the enemy team, or people like, or heroes like Tassadar, they can split off team, you crowd control that way. It doesn't even have to be terrain, it can be CC as well. I'd say Kel'Thuzad's Frost Blast is also a pretty good crowd controller because if you throw it on someone in the middle of the enemy team, then they kind of have to spread out, right? You're controlling the fight.
So do you think there's, like, if you have a team, right? If you're drafting a team, do you have to have all of these, or can you miss one or two? Because I feel like a lot of these are crucial roles to have in a team composition. And if you are missing them, you've got a glaring hole in your composition.
Well, I mean, that's where good drafters come in, right? So they mix and match your team comp and they say, okay, so we want to take these things. Like, let's just say you pick Genji, right? Then you have a little bit of sustained damage. You have your finisher, though. And then the enemy team goes, okay, they have a finisher, and so we want to pick this against it, right? And then so, you kind of go back and forth. And you generally want to, it's kind of like a checklist, right? You want to cross off as many as you can, and then, make sure your comp is good versus theirs. Sometimes you can just be like, okay, we don't need this, and we don't need this against their composition,
Yeah, this brings to mind a game we had. I think it was a chair league game. We had Garrosh, and Probius and Li Ming were our main damage. I think we had two frontline, a healer, and then Probius and Li Ming. And we realized quite quickly that we didn't have any finishing really ability there with Probius and Li Ming. They do a lot of damage, but it's not as much finishing potential. And we ended up realizing after the fact that, hey, maybe we didn't draft optimally to follow up on those Garrosh throws. Also there's some other things playing into it too. You throw a Garrosh, Probius and Li Ming almost need some setup time to get their abilities off. But I think what I've seen a lot of comps is putting in too much on the mage, like bursty type random damage. Like you don't want like a Gul'dan and a Zebo necessarily without the finisher, like a Vol or someone who can actually go and secure the kill, a Greymane or any one of those. So I don't know if that's something that you come across quite a bit, but I always see that as like one place that I see a lot of people messing up drafts is not having the finisher to go along with a lot of their big heavy damage. But is there anything I guess some other things too that you see a lot of the time is if you don't have that engage, it can be really tough to, like, you might have two tanks, but hey, they might not have a lot of engage, and that could be a little bit difficult to start the fights up and such as well.
Yeah, like initiators, you might have to be like, okay, I'm Sonya, but our team doesn't have a very good initiation. So, as much as I love to take, what was it, the ability that makes her bigger, and I forget the name of the ability, but it increases her damage by a lot. You might want to forego that one and take Leap because your team doesn't have as good of initiation, so now you have the initiation, which is Leap.
Yeah, and initiation I feel like is so incredibly important. Like anytime I find myself in a game where we don't have that obvious initiator, it becomes really difficult to get in a position where you're gonna like win the team fight right off the bat, right? Like you get into like those long slogs, you're relying on the other team initiating on you almost, or to make the mistakes. Whereas if you've got a solid initiator, you can take the initiative, I guess the pun, that's why they're called initiators, take the initiative of the fight, and you can actually secure that kill, and you can, control the momentum of the fight. Great topic. LiQuiuD, what do you think about it? LiQuiuD? Still sleeping, bud? Jeez, sleeps the whole show. What kind of co-host is he, eh? Anyhow, well, maybe, on that note, we'll wrap it off here so LiQuiuD can go take a nap. Thanks for everybody listening to the Nexus Trolls. Here, listen to our podcast, which we stream live on our Twitter. Man, that was a bad joke. I gotta say. I did just going off on a tangent. I had to do a speech for work last week at just a conference I was attending. My kids are like, Dad, don't tell any corny jokes. They're never funny. And I told a corny joke, and it bombed hard in the middle of that speech I gave at the conference. I got to learn, just sometimes you just got to rein in those corny jokes, Dad. The dad jokes, Mystic, I guess you don't understand because you're not a dad yet, but once you get kids, for some reason, just the corny jokes come out in full. I got to start reining those in. Anyhow, thanks everybody for listening to the Nexus Trolls. Here's the Storm Podcast. Stream us live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/trollsgg, every week on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Since LiQuiuD's not awake, I'll just do this little outro for him. You can follow him at LiQuidGG. You can find him on Twitch at twitch.tv/LiQuidGG as well. Mystic, where can people find you?
You can find me at Mystic Shroud on Twitter.
Do you have an avatar or anything set up yet?
I will have one by next week.
All those are fighting words. I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I want to see an avatar up there, or at least something. That being said, you've probably been tweeting a little bit more frequently than I have recently. But if you're looking to follow me, you can follow me at DazHots on Twitter as well. And thanks to all our patron supporters, especially our new one, Jen, aka Suri. Thanks so much for supporting the show, and thanks to all our other patron supporters. If you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can do so over at patreon.com/trollsgg. You can also subscribe to our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. And if you're previously been subscribing to us and you got spammed with 48 new episodes yesterday, I apologize. We just recently switched hosts, and some of these services just thought that we had 48 new episodes, but for some reason. So I do apologize, but we did boost our download count with that, I guess. I guess a positive of the negative. But I do apologize to those of you that we fill up your phone storage. You can also visit our website at trolls.gg/TheNexusTrolls to watch some past shows, along with past video streams can be found on our YouTube channel. We did just change trolls.gg website, so go check that out for the new additions to the website. There's going to be new ones coming along the way as well in the coming weeks. For announcements about the show and general Heroes of the Storm news, you can follow us on Twitter at TheNexusTrolls. And if you want to hang out with the Trolls community in-game, you can /join TrollsGG, or do that in-game, or you can join our Discord channel at trolls.gg/Discord. I think I need to reset that up since we put the new website up. I was just looking at that in the notes being like, oh shoot, I think if you go to trolls.gg/Discord, it doesn't actually take you anywhere now. So if you go to that now, please be patient. I'll make sure I change it. If you're not listening to this live, it'll probably be changed by then. And finally, if you want to get in touch with us, the best way is by email at TheNexusTrolls@trollsgg. So everybody, thanks for listening. Mystic, thanks for hosting as always. LiQuid, you still asleep, bud? Go figure. Everybody, have a great week. Just a quick note for those of you still listening, Trolling GG